Hello everyone. Welcome to the DBMS online lectures. In the previous lectures, we have discussed about introduction about databases. In this lecture, we'll continue with the module 1 with the chapter overview of database languages and architectures. So what all the topics we are going to see in this chapter are database models, then schemas, instances, tree schema architecture and data independence, database languages and interfaces, and the database system environment. Data model. First we'll see what is meant by data model. Data model, it's a set of concepts to describe the structure of a database, the operations for manipulating these structures, and certain constraints that the database should obey. Now, what is meant by structure of a database? Structure means it's the constructs which are used to define the database. Okay, so the constructs which are used to define the database structures, which are nothing but elements, then group of elements, and the relationships among the groups. For example, if you have a company database, and there you have to define employees. Okay, employees information you have to store. Now, what are the properties or elements which are related to employee you are going to store? For example, employee ID, employee name, then salary, right? And the employee's department. So these informations you are going to store for an employee. Now, the elements which are going to store, that will be called as the properties of those entities or the employees. Here entity means it is like a class. Okay, so in your object oriented concepts you have class, right? Class, and you have a class like a data members and the functions. Similarly here, employee, you just relate that employee with the class concept, and you have a data members. So here those are the properties like ID, name, salary, all those things. So those are called as attributes or the properties of an employee. And when you are defining something, okay, when you are defining these properties, you have to tell what is the data type of each element or the property. Okay, so for each property you have to tell what is the data type. Whether ID, okay, if ID you take, then it must be an integer. And if I say name, then it is a set of characters. And salary, it can be defined as a decimal or the real number. So like that you will be specifying the data types. And then if I have 100 employees, then I'll be storing 100 records. Record means, so ID, name, salary, department, that is one record. Okay, for example, I am the employee of this institute, so my information is stored in there, so that is one record, so it is related to me, right? So like that we have hundreds of employees in the company, that means 100 records will be there. So group of records will form a table or the database. Okay, so we use the terms entity, record, table. So these are the group of elements. So entity will be formed by grouping the elements. Okay, by grouping the elements. So here elements refers to the properties. Okay, so here elements refers to the properties. So if I group properties related to one employee, then I'll get one entity. Then if I have hundreds of entities, if I group all those things, then I'll get a table. Okay, so each entity has its own record or information. So like that you can define group of elements and what are the relationship among the groups. If I say employee and department are there in the company database, then how these two things are related. So employee works in a particular department. Okay, so he works in a particular department, works in or works for a department, or he belongs to a department. So I can relate these two entities, right? So that is the relationship. Okay, so you'll be studying all these in detail later. So just you remember what is meant by data model structure. Data model structure means there you are going to define the entities, they like what all the different elements they are having, what are the properties they are having, and how you will group these things together, and what all the relationships they have. So that you will define. Then constraints means you are specifying some restrictions on valid data. Okay, so these constraints must be followed or enforced at all time. That means whenever you are performing manipulation operations, these rules or the constraints must be checked. Okay, according to that only it has to execute. In the previous lecture I said when I enter employee salary, it must not be greater than his supervisor, right? It must not be greater than his supervisor. So that is the constraint I am enforcing on the insertion operation. Okay, so that must be checked whenever you insert the new employee information. Then you have to see that salary of an employee should not be greater than his supervisor's salary. Then we said operations. Okay, it also data model also describes the operations which are performing on the database structure. Okay, now what are these operations? There are two types. So one is basic model operations and then user defined operations. Basic model operations means like you are performing insertion, deletion, updation of the content. Okay, so that is called basic model operation. And user defined means you can also write some functions. Okay, you can also write some procedures to perform some operations. That is called as user defined operations. For example, you are calculating the student GPA or you are calculating the student's average marks. So you are writing your own function. So that is user defined operations. So what is the data model then? So here we have a set of concepts to describe the structure of a database. As I said, like different properties and the data types you have to define, and then operations which you are performing on these structures, and then the certain constraints on the database. Whenever you execute the manipulation function, it must check the constraints. Okay, it should run according to the constraints. Then we'll see what are the categories of data models. So there are various categories like conceptual, physical, implementation, and self-describing data models. Now the first one, conceptual data model, it provides concepts that are close to the way in which users perceive the data. That means how you imagine the application, accordingly they will model. Okay, like you may think, okay, college database means college will have students, then departments, then faculties and admin staffs, like that you will imagine, right? So what all the attributes they must have? For example, student means student will have their own set of attributes or the properties. So like that, how we are going to visualize the entire application, like what all the different objects you are identifying, based on that it will be designed. Okay, so example for conceptual data model are entity based models and object based data models. So these are the examples of conceptual data models. Okay, so like it is also called as high level or semantic. So how user perceives the data, according to that the data model will be designed or it will be represented. And then physical data models. So this deals with how we are going to store the data in the computer. So as a normal user, we are not going to do anything with this. Okay, usually it will be done by ad hoc manner through the DBMS design and administration manuals, like how much space it will occupy, or where, like what is the partition we have to make. So all these things is related to physical structure of the database. So it will be handled by the database administrator. Okay, and then implementation data models, or it is also called as representational data model. So here it will describe like how you are going to implement the database. For example, if I take a relational database model, so in the relational database model, the data will be represented in the form of tables. Okay, it will be implemented in the form of tables, or it will be represented in the form of tables. Each row will indicate one record related to one entity, and then the column represents the attributes or the fields. Okay, fields of each entity. Then implement, okay, object oriented data database model, object oriented database model. In that you will be using object oriented concepts. Okay, like you can define the class and object concept. So like that, how you are going to implement or how you are going to represent the database, that is given by the implementation data models. Then we have self-describing data models. Self-describing means it will combine the data, the description of the data along with the data values. See, everything will be keeping in one file itself, like the defining the data values, like what is the structure of each field, and also the actual data. Okay, so everything you will keep in one record or one file. So that is called as self-describing data model. So the examples are XML, key value stores, and some NoSQL systems. Now, schemas versus instances. The next topic is schemas versus instances. The database schema. Schema means it will give you the description of a database. Okay, so don't confuse with the metadata. Here, description means for the user. Okay, for the user, like what are the, like for the user or the designer, what is the what all the different fields I have in the table or in the file, and then what is the data type of each field. Field means here I am referring properties. Okay, so what all the different fields, and what are the data types, and what are the constraints. Okay, so only the limited constraints we can show in the database schema. We'll go through it in later chapters, like how to define or what are the different constraints we can define. So all those things you will study in later chapters. Till now, in this, you can just understand what is schema. Schema means it is a description of database, and it can have the description of the database structure. Okay, so here database structure means related to entities or the elements, and what are the data types of each field, and the constraints on the databases. Then it can be illustratively explained using schema diagram. Okay, so schema diagram can be used to illustratively explain the database schema. Then schema construct. Schema construct means it's a component of the schema or an object within the schema. For example, when I say university database, so I have different components in the university, like student, course, all those things, right? So those are the separate objects within the schema. So entire company database I have, in that I have student, course, department, prerequisite, all those things. Okay, so those are the components of the schema or an object within the schema. So that is known as schema construct. Now we'll see the difference between schemas and the instances. So schema, just it will give you the description of the database, but database state means at any given time, if you see, how much data is or actual data, how much actual data is stored in the database, that gives you the database state. It's like a snapshot. So if I say, okay, 12 o'clock, what is the content of my database? How many records are there? Just if I execute and check, then that gives you the snapshot. So that snapshot is called as database state. Okay, so the actual data stored in a database at a particular moment in time, that is known as database state. Okay, so this includes the collection of all the data in the database. Now, this database state, it is also called as database instance. That means at a particular time of moment, so how much data I have in my database. So that gives you the instance or the snapshot. It is also called as database state. Now, if I say the instance, it can be used for individual database components like a record instance, table instance, or entity instance also I can check. Okay, so record instance means how many records are there, like table instance means like how many tables I have at a moment, and then entity instance means how many different objects I have. Entity refers to the objects here, or like how many objects I have, so that I can check. Now database schema and database state, what is the difference between these two? So database state, as I said, it refers to the content of a database at a moment in time, and database schema means it's just the description. Okay, and initial database state, that refers to the database state when it is initially loaded into the system. So first, when you create the database and you input some information, or when you insert some information, so that is the initial database state. And valid state means a state that satisfies the structure and constraints of the database. Okay, the state, if it satisfies the structure and constraints of the database, then it is called as valid state. Okay, so initial state means when if you have just created the database and you have entered some values to that, then it will be known as initial database state. And then valid state means whenever you check if it satisfies the structure and the constraints of the database, then it is known as valid state. Now, what is the difference of schema and database state? You see in this slide. So here, distinction between schema and state. So the database schema changes very infrequently. See, you are not going to change the properties of the entities, right? At each, whenever you use database, first you will define what all the properties it must have. Later on, you just go on inserting the values or updating the information, but you will not change the structure of the database very oftenly, correct? So that is the difference between schema and the state. So database schema changes very infrequently, that means you are not going to change now and then. But database state means whenever you do some operations on the database, then it will change. For example, you are inserting some values and immediately next moment the status changed. Initially you have 5 records and you have added one more, then at the next moment the status different because it is having 6 records. And if you delete one of them, again it will change. Or if you modify some content in that, then again it will change. Okay, so database state will change every time when you perform some updation on the content. Okay, updation means here insert, delete or modify the content. Then schema is called as intention and state is called as extension. Okay, schema is sometimes referred as intention and state is called as extension. So this is one of the example of database schema. So here student course, prerequisite, and then section, grade report, these are the components. Okay, these are the components in the schema. Like these are the different entities, and you have the elements like name, student number, class, and major. So these are the properties or the attributes of student. Now here it is not shown like what is the data type of name, student number. So I'll show another slide, in that you will get a clear picture. So this is another way of representing the schema. So here, so track, album, genre, media type, invoice line, playlist track, these are the different components. And for example, track has track ID, album ID, media type ID, then genre ID. Okay, so these are the properties of track. And here you can see in each table, you can see one symbol, the bulb symbol, bulb kind of symbol. Okay, so that represents the track ID in track table or the database is unique. Okay, it is having unique value, it can have only unique value. This is one of the constraint. Okay, and here invoice line ID. So it is again unique value. Okay, for example, student, if I take student USN is unique, right? So using that I can identify the individual student. So their USN is the unique attribute. So that is one of the constraints you are showing or representing in the schema diagram. And the connectivity shows the relationship. Okay, here connectivity shows the relationship. Okay, so album ID and track ID. So sorry, album and the track, they are related, and then using this album ID it is related. Okay, you can see album ID is common here, and in this album ID is unique value, right? So using these attributes, album ID attribute, these album and track are related. Okay, as I said, employee and department, these two tables are related, right? Employee belongs to a particular department. So like that you can show the relationship among the different entities. Then this is another way of representing the schema. It's also related to UML diagram only. Okay, so orders, users, countries, merchants, product, order items, all these are components in a orders database. Okay, like in some purchase related or shopping related database. Now this is an example of database state. So here you can see course has 4 records. Okay, so this is the current state. So when I took the snapshot, or when I see the how many records are there in the database in different tables, then this is the current state. Okay, so like this, the actual content at a moment will be called as the database state. Now next we'll see the 3 schema architecture. So this 3 schema architecture is proposed to support DBMS characteristics of program data independence and support of multiple views of the data. Okay, so these are the main characteristics of database approach. So that is proposed, that is supported by 3 schema architecture. Okay, so here we'll see what is mean by this 3 schema architecture. There are 3 levels. Okay, so when I use DBMS schema, so I can define the schema in 3 levels. What are these 3 levels? Internal schema, conceptual schema, and external schema. Internal schema means at the internal level, like physical level. Okay, like how you are going to store or how you are going to access the record. Okay, so that will be defined in the internal schema level. Okay, so that means you are using indexes or some accessing methods, or like how you will traverse each record. For that, some algorithm you might be using, or internally operating system will schedule that. So that is defined in the internal schema. Usually it is modeled using the physical data model. Then conceptual schema. So at the conceptual level, that means like how you are going to describe the structure and constraints for the whole database for different users. Okay, that is represented using conceptual schema. So in that level, you will define the constraints or the structure of the database. So here it uses conceptual data model and the implementation data model. So in conceptual, you have seen ER data, ER entity relationship model, and then implementation you have seen RDBMS or object oriented databases. Okay, then comes external schemas. At the external level, it describes the various users views. That means like uh, it uses usually the same model as a conceptual schema it will use. Like you are giving some information, okay, you are giving some information to the users. Only the restricted access you are giving to the group of users, right? So according to their requirement, you are creating the virtual views or virtual tables, and that will be given to the end user. Okay, like how you are viewing the information. For example, I need only the two properties values, okay, name and USN I want. So you will give only name and USN, okay, only name and USN you will provide. So that is the different representation, sorry, that is the way you are providing the information to the end user. So external schema means it is like how you are going to give the values to the end user, how you are going to represent the values for the end user. Okay, so that is the external schema. Now here you can see the diagram. So end users, for end users, I'll give only the virtual tables, and then at the middle we have conceptual schema, and then internal schema and the stored database. So here how I am going to store the information or how much space I am allocating, how I am going to access, that will not be shown to the upper level. Okay. So here we'll say conceptual to internal mapping. So I'm hiding the actual information or the physical storage information from the conceptual users or the conceptual level. And then external to conceptual mapping. So here the details of implementation will be hidden from the end user. Okay, whether you have used RDBMS, whether you have used object oriented database, that is not necessary for the end user, right? Only they need data. So they don't know how you or which method or which data model you have used for the implementation. Okay, so that kind of hiding will be called as external to conceptual mapping. Okay, so only they will get the actual data in some tabular format or text format, whatever format they want. In that format they can view the information. So mapping among schema levels are needed to transform requests and data. Okay, so mapping means, like as I said, from physical to conceptual and conceptual to external. So that mapping should be done, because I can't give directly in the format how I have saved my data in the database, correct? So it should be converted. So that transformation will be done by level by level. Okay, like mapping. Using mapping, we will transform the request and the data. So programs refer to an external schema and are mapped by the DBMS to the internal schema for the execution. So in the external schema, I'll just say, okay, what all the information I want. So that should be mapped internally for the execution. Okay, and data extracted from the internal database level is reformatted to match the user's external view. That means according to the user request, or like how they want to view the information. According to that, I have to format it and I have to give the data to the user. So formatting means it's like a results of an SQL query for displaying in a web page. So just you'll be having some pages, and in their tabs or the text boxes. So whenever you request, the data will be retrieved and displayed on those text boxes, right? So like that, in which format you want or in which form it is designed, in that format it has to be retrieved and displayed. Now data independence, logical data independence and physical data independence. Here like program data independence we have seen in the first chapter. Now in data independence we have two types, logical data independence and physical data independence. Logical data independence means the capacity to change the conceptual schema without having to change the external schemas and their associated application programs. Okay, so the capacity to change the conceptual schema. What I am doing here, so I am changing the representation or like implementation thing, but the user will not get to know that. Okay, so application programmer will modify the existing schema, like he may add something or he may represent the entities in different way. He can show in ER diagram or in implementation. Suppose he want to change the structure, then he can do at a logical level. So but it will not be reflected for the end user. Then physical data independence means for the storage. Okay, so how I'm like which access method I'm using, or what all the index I'm creating. Okay, index on which attribute I'm creating, I can change, but that will not be affected for the conceptual schema. Okay, so in conceptual level it should not be seen. So the capacity to change the internal schema without having to change the conceptual schema, that is called physical data independence. Now in simple way, logical data independence means, see, you have an application where you are fetching only name, USN and the department. Okay, actually in the database I have more than those attributes, more than 3. Now I can modify, I can add something to the existing table, but this will not be interacted with that. It will not change. It will remain as it is. Whatever I have previously, so that design, everything will be same. I'm just adding in the conceptual level. I'm changing the design of my table. Some relationship I can change among the tables. All those I will change. But for the end user, it is not visible. Okay, and in case of physical data independence means conceptual schema will be remain same, but internally I'll change the techniques. Like for example, indexing. I have created index on student USN. Now I'll change index on students what we say Aadhaar number, because that is also unique. Okay, internally I'll change the structure related to physical storage or physical implementation. Okay, but that is not reflect, that will not affect anything in the conceptual level. That is called physical data independence. Okay, so physical means you are modifying at the physical level, internal schema level, and logical data independence means you are making changes in the conceptual level. Okay, that means in the second level, middle. Okay, conceptual level you are modifying, but it will not be reflected in the above layer. Okay, so that is called logical data independence. Then when a schema at a lower level is changed, only the mappings between this schema and higher level schemas need to be changed in a DBMS. That fully supports data independence. Okay, so when a schema at a lower level is changed, only the mappings between this schema and the higher level schemas need to be changed in a DBMS, which supports data independence. That means whenever I change something in the lower level, so that should be mapped to the higher level. So that is called conceptual to like a physical mapping. Then the higher level schemas themselves are unchanged. Hence, an application programs need not be changed since they refer to the external schemas. See, if you are changing in the lower level, if it is affecting more or if it like internally you have to map, then you go for mapping. Okay, map the, see, when a schema at a lower level is changed, only the mappings between this schema and higher level schemas need to be changed in a DBMS. Okay, and if you are changing higher level, then the schema themselves are unchanged. Okay, the higher level schemas themselves are unchanged. Hence, the application programs need not be changed since they refer to the external schemas. Higher level means the external view. Okay, so it will not affect anything. So if you are doing any changes in the higher level, it will not affect anything. So no need of changing, it will remain unchanged. But if at all you are changing something in the lower level, then mapping should be done. Okay, it is not visible to the upper level, but proper mapping should be done so that data independence must be achieved. Okay, then only we can see or you can achieve the data independence. Okay, so I'll stop this lecture with this topic. So we'll continue in the next lecture. Till then, bye. Thank you.